I just finished up another little chopping session today with Japanese garden machete and SA hungless. And I wanted to make a short video to comment on one thing which was rather surprising. I expected, because of the chisel grind of the Japanese garden machete, it was going to be very biased when it went into the wood. There'd be a huge difference between chopping from the right as in chopping from the left, because one side is essentially flat and the other side has a very complex, flat, convex sort of bevel to it. As it turns out, while there is a difference, it's not nearly as pronounced as I thought that it would be. And I can chop with this knife fairly comfortably, pretending that it is symmetric V-ground, just like on the hungless. Now that's rather surprising, considering that it's not. But that's a good thing, because it gives me something to figure out, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on, until I took a very close look at the actual blade itself. If you take the blade on the Japanese garden machete and sight down the edge of it, you will notice that the entire blade is actually tilted. It's hard to see on camera because the effect is quite small, but what I mean is, if you look down this blade along the handle, you'll find that the entire blade is actually rotated this way. Now, it's not as dramatic as I'm showing it right here. This is just so you can understand what's going on. The actual degree of rotation is only a few degrees, but again, the blade is rotated this way. Now that mightn't seem like it makes very much of a difference. It's only a rotation of a few degrees. But the actual primary grind on the hungless is only a few degrees. Primary flat bevel is usually between 3 to 5 degrees. So because the Japanese garden machete has rotated the chisel grind, it acts very similar to a dual ground bevel. Now there's still some bias because one side is sort of flat and the other side has sort of a very sweeping convex to flat bevel. But that shifting or rotation of the blade prevents the very dramatic effect that most people feel when they first pick up a chisel ground blade and go to chop with it, and when one side tends to scallop or scoop right out of the wood and the other side tends to get very shallow penetration. You don't see that nearly as strong here on the garden machete because the blade is rotated. Again, you do see it. There's still a bias. Chopping with the hungless, it's the same from left to right, makes no difference. The only effect you feel is whatever side you're stronger on. With the garden machete, you can feel a difference going from, or I can, going from right crossbody to left crossbody, due to the actual fact that one side has basically a flat grind and the other one has a very sweeping convex bevel that goes into sort of a flat bevel on top of it. But again, the rotation of the blade keeps that from being strikingly dramatic, as seen on some chisel ground blades where the back is just completely flat, straight up and down. It's a rather interesting feature. I hope it actually is a feature, but if it's a defect, hey, it's a defect that works very well. It has very little to no drawbacks that I can see. Yes, if you were using it in the kitchen against a straight up and down chisel back knife, you could probably see a little bit of a difference. I can't notice it using it against my other flat chisel ground blades in the kitchen, which are straight up and down. But again, I don't do a lot of Japanese style cooking, and I'm not as finesse as some people might be. And if you are, you might be able to pick up that slight rotation. But for me, the slight rotation has almost no drawbacks, and it produces a very significant effect when you're chopping, and it eliminates that very strong bias that's sometimes found on chisel ground blades. So again, it's either a very nice unique feature that they don't advertise, or it was a surprising defect that just came out and worked well. If it is a defect, it's quite surprising, because if the blade was rotated the other way and that the convex pound part was actually rotated, it would be horrible to use because it would actually magnify the asymmetry. The way it's rotated now counteracts the asymmetry. Again, it's quite an interesting feature. Just thought I'd make a short video to talk about it.